After sister convinced everyone I was lying about the abuse, I showed them all the hospital records. I slide the fat manila folder onto my parents' dining table so hard the cutlery rattles. The laminated tablecloth makes this sharp, hollow smack that cuts through the sound of the TV, my dad's fork scraping his plate, my sister's fake little laugh. Every head turns. My heart is racing so hard I can feel it in my teeth, but my voice comes out weirdly calm as I say, since I'm such a liar, we're going to read what the doctors wrote out loud. It's a Sunday night, and the whole house smells like roast chicken and that cheap lemon cleaner Mom uses on absolutely everything. Dad's halfway through his second beer, Mom's still in her work polo with the supermarket logo, and my sister, Hannah, is sitting there in full glam like this is some kind of reality TV reunion. She rolls her eyes so dramatically I can see the whites from the other side of the table. "Oh my God, are you serious, Jess?" she says. "You brought paperwork." The word drips with contempt. I can feel the cardboard edge digging into my sweaty palm as I flip the folder open and the stack of records fans out. White, crisp, official. My fingers are shaking, but I force them to pick up the first one. Emergency Department Attendance, June 17th, 2021. I read, voice wavering. Presenting complaint. Alleged assault by intimate partner. Rib pain. Bruising. Patient tearful. States she fell down the stairs. I look up. Ring any bells? It was 3 years ago, almost to the day, that I first walked into that same emergency department, insisting I just slipped in the shower. At the time, Liam and I had been together for almost 5 years. We'd done the normal milestones. Moved in together, opened a joint account, spent Christmases half with my family, half with his. To everyone watching, we were this solid, slightly boring couple that argued about whose turn it was to take the bins out. No one saw the way my stomach dropped when I heard his car in the driveway, or how I flinched when his phone vibrated late at night, in case it woke him up and he decided I'd done something wrong. The first time he hit me, we were in the kitchen. It was stupid. I'd forgotten to defrost the chicken. That's it. He came home starving after a long shift, opened the fridge, saw nothing ready, and his face just changed, like someone had switched him out for a different person. I can still hear the slap of skin on skin, the ringing in my ear as I stagger back against the bench, the metallic taste in my mouth where I bit my tongue. And then the apologies, the crying, the kneeling on the tiles while he held my face and said he didn't know what came over him. He was stressed. Work was killing him. He'd never, ever do it again. I told no one. That night, I slept with an ice pack wrapped in a tea towel pressed to my cheek, and when Mom came over the next day, I made sure my hair was down. When I sent Hannah a selfie later that week, I tilted my head so my left side was in shadow. I remember her replying with, "You look tired, babe. Long week?" And me laughing it off with a voice note. "Just work stuff, you know how it is." I didn't even admit it to myself. I told myself it was a horrible one-time thing, that couple's fight, that I'd snapped at him first. Of course it wasn't one time. It just escalated slowly enough that I kept moving the goalposts of what I would never tolerate. A shove here, a punch to the wall next to my head there. Fingers digging into my arm hard enough to leave purple fingerprints because I embarrassed him at a party by talking to one of his friends too long. Every time, there was a teary apology and some grand romantic gesture. Flowers, my favorite takeaway. Sex where he kissed every bruise like he was blessing it. And every time, I swallowed the fear with the food he ordered, smoothed it over in my mind. Hannah always loved Liam. That part is important. Before any of this, she used to joke that I hit the jackpot because he had a decent job and could fix stuff around the house. She'd flirt in that sister way that's technically harmless, but always made me feel weird, running jokes about how if we ever broke up, she'd call dibs. Our parents adore him too. Dad talked football with him. Mom told him things about our childhood she never even told me. Liam bought them expensive whiskey and helped Dad put up that stupid pergola out the back. He slipped into the family like he'd always been there. So when things got really bad, I didn't just feel trapped by Liam. I felt trapped by the version of him everyone else wanted to believe in. The night that landed me in hospital with a broken rib, it started because I wanted to go to my friend's birthday without him. That's it. He grabbed my wrist when I picked up my keys, twisted it until I dropped them, and when I tried to pull away, he shoved me into the edge of the kitchen bench. I heard the crack more than felt it at first. Then the pain came in this delayed, stabbing wave. I couldn't breathe properly. I remember sliding down the cupboard and clutching my side, wheezing, trying not to vomit. He drove me to the hospital himself, which sounds insane now. On the way, he drilled the story into me. "You slipped," he said. "You were rushing, wearing those stupid socks. You slipped. If you tell them any different, Jess, they're going to call the cops, and then you'll ruin everything. You'll ruin my career, you'll ruin us, and Dad will never look me in the eye again. Do you want that?" He stared at me at a red light, fingers drumming on the steering wheel. "You slipped," he repeated, softer this time, like a promise instead of a threat. So I told the triage nurse I slipped. I told the doctor I slipped, but I couldn't keep it all in. At some point, when he stepped outside to take a phone call, the doctor asked if I felt safe at home. The word just came out quiet and pathetic. "Sometimes he gets angry," I whispered. He didn't mean it. It was just... I should have been more careful. The doctor looked at me for a long time, then jotted something down. I went home that night with a wrap around my chest, a prescription for painkillers, and the hollow promise I'd be more careful next time. That note the doctor wrote, those exact words, are in the file I'm holding now at my parents' table. I didn't know that until a month ago. Until I sat at my own kitchen bench, alone, with a thick envelope of photocopied records and a coffee gone cold by my elbow, seeing my life spelled out in blunt clinical sentences. Patient reports partner became enraged, multiple contusions, pattern of injuries inconsistent with history, social worker consulted. It felt like reading a police report about someone else. Except it was me. A year after the broken rib, I finally left. It wasn't some big dramatic movie moment. It was because he choked me in the hallway for leaving dishes in the sink. His thumbs dug into the sides of my neck, and there was this split second where the world narrowed and I realized, very clearly, that he could kill me if he wanted to. It was that simple. When he let go, I walked past him on shaky legs, locked myself in the bathroom, and rang the domestic violence hotline printed on a faded poster behind the toilet door at my GP's office. A few weeks later, I was in a women's shelter with a bin bag of clothes and a folder of legal documents, while my family group chat buzzed about how dramatic I was being, because by then, Liam had got to them. He told them I was unstable, that I'd always been sensitive, that I drank too much, that I had a temper, that I hit him first. Hannah, who had always been a little obsessed with him, lapped it up. She visited him to get his side of the story and came back with this whole narrative about how he'd been trying to help me, how I refused therapy, how I made up abuse to justify my cheating that never even happened. I remember ringing Mom from the shelter one night, desperate, and she said, "Jess, we love you, but Hannah says Liam showed her bruises too. You two need to stop hurting each other." That sentence lodged in my chest like shrapnel. Hurting each other. It got worse. Hannah posted this long Facebook status, vague but obvious to anyone who knew us, about people weaponizing the word abuse to escape accountability, about false allegations destroying good men's lives. My aunt screenshotted it and sent it to me with a sad face sticker. I deleted the message and lay on my mattress staring at the ceiling, wondering how I'd become the villain in my own story. I went no contact with my family for almost a year. I focused on surviving, court dates for the AVO, counseling sessions where I alternated between ugly crying and numb silence, trying to sleep through nightmares of his hands on my throat. Slowly, painfully, I started to build a life where he wasn't the gravitational center. I got a new job at a call center. I rented a tiny flat with ugly brown carpet that I adore because every stain on it was mine. I learned how to enjoy silence again. It was my therapist, Dr. Patel, who suggested I request my medical records. At first, I didn't see the point. I knew what happened. Why would I want to relive it on paper? She tilted her head and said, because courts and families believe paper more than they believe memories. And because sometimes seeing it written down helps you believe yourself. So I filled in the forms, paid the stupid fees, and a few weeks later, this thick envelope arrived. There it all was. Every late night, ER trip. Every fall, every whispered confession I tried to bury with the discharge summaries. There were photos I didn't know they'd taken, faded color printouts of my arms, my ribs, the finger-shaped bruises on my throat. There were notes from social workers recording, "Patient appears fearful of partner, minimizes risk." There was one entry from an ambulance officer that made my hands go cold. On arrival, patient found hyperventilating on bedroom floor. Partner present, uncooperative, states she does this all the time for attention. When I read that line, I had to get up and walk around my flat because I felt like the walls were closing in. These were Liam's exact words, repeated on an official document. The same words Hannah had thrown at me when I first told her, "You always were dramatic." I don't know whether it was anger or clarity, but something solidified in me then. Up until that point, some pathetic part of me had still been hoping it was all a misunderstanding. That if I just explained it right, if I cried in the right tone, my family would finally go, "Oh, okay, now we get it." But reading those records, I realized I didn't need them to get it for it to be real. The abuse happened. It was documented. Professionals had seen it and written it down. The people who chose not to see were my family. Still, when Mom rang me out of the blue a few weeks later and said, "We're all having dinner Sunday. It'd be nice if you came," I heard myself say yes. I told Dr. Patel about it. She was cautious. "What are you hoping for from this dinner?" she asked gently. I stared at the carpet and said, "I don't know. Closure, I guess." She nodded slowly. "Then go in with information, not expectations. You can show them the truth, Jess. Whether they accept, it is not your responsibility." So here I am, at that dinner, with the truth in a manila folder. Mom's fingers tremble as she reaches for the first page. "Jess, this is unnecessary," she starts, but the words die as her eyes flick over the headings. I watch the color drain from her face. "Oh my God," she murmurs. This is from the hospital." "Obviously, it's from the hospital," Hannah scoffs, but I can see her swallow. She's gripping her wine glass so tightly her knuckles are white. "Anyone can tell a sob story to a nurse, Jess. You always were good at drama." She stresses the word like it's a dirty thing. "You probably bruised yourself and blamed Liam when you were in one of your moods." I flip to another page, my movements sharper than I intend. "Ambulance report, September 4th, 2022. I read, my voice louder now. Neighbors called 000 after hearing shouting. Patient found on bedroom floor, difficulty breathing, red marks around neck consistent with manual strangulation." I slam my fingertip down on the words, even though I know they can't see them from where they're sitting. Liam wasn't even in the room when they arrived. "How'd I bruise my own neck, Hannah?" "With telekinesis." Dad clears his throat, that sound he makes when he's uncomfortable and wants everyone to stop talking. "Jess, no one's saying nothing happened," he mutters, not quite meeting my eyes. We heard a lot of different stories, that's all." "Different stories?" I laugh, and it comes out high and brittle. "What stories did you hear, Dad? The one where I broke my own rib because I'm clumsy? Or the one where I strangle myself for attention?" Hannah slams her glass down. "Stop twisting things," she snaps. "You know what Liam told us? He said you were unstable, that you'd scratch yourself and then cry abuse. He showed me messages where you begged him not to leave. If he was as bad as you say, why did you keep going back?" There it is. The question that lives in my bones. Why did I keep going back? I could launch into another explanation about trauma bonding, about financial control, about how leaving an abuser is a process, not an event. Instead, I just silently slide another document across the table, this time directly to her. "Discharge summary, October 12th, 2022, I say quietly. Diagnosis, PTSD. Recommendation, ongoing counseling, referral to domestic violence support service." She doesn't pick it up. Mom does. Her eyes skim the lines, her lips moving as she reads. When she gets to the part where the social worker writes, "Patient reports family members minimizing abuse, feels unsupported," she presses her fingers to her mouth. Her shoulders start to shake. "I didn't know," she whispers. "I swear, I didn't know it was this bad. You never told me about the choking." "I did," I say, and my voice breaks on the last word. "I told you he grabbed my neck. You said I probably provoked him." The silence stretches. The only sound is the ticking of the cheap wall clock and the muffled TV in the lounge. Dad stares at his plate. Hannah looks anywhere but at me. What I want, more than anything, is for someone to stand up, slam their hands on the table, and say, "We're sorry. We were wrong. We believe you." I want some big dramatic catharsis to match the weight of the folder in my hands. Instead, Mom just starts crying quietly. Dad sighs like he's the victim in all this, and Hannah crosses her arms, her jaw set. "So what now?" she says. "You want us to hate him? You want us to pretend he never did anything good for this family?" "Here. I want you to stop calling me a liar," I say. "I want you to stop posting about false allegations like you didn't just read 3 separate professionals documenting injuries. I want you to stop inviting him to Christmas and then acting confused when I don't show up." Hannah flinches. "He asked about you," she mutters defensively. "He said he still loves you." A weird calm settles over me. "Hannah," I say, "he nearly killed me." She opens her mouth to argue again, but Dad finally speaks up. "Enough," he says, and this time his voice has that tone that used to make us both freeze as kids. "Whatever happened between Jess and Liam is between them. I'm not getting involved." The calm snaps. "You got involved when you took his side," I say. "You got involved when you told me to stop exaggerating after I left the shelter. You got involved when you let your other daughter call me a liar in front of the whole family." Mom reaches out like she's going to touch my hand, then seems to think better of it. "We were confused," she says weakly. "You have to see that. One minute you were saying how much you loved him, the next minute you were accusing him of all these things. It didn't add up." "It doesn't have to add up for you," I reply. My throat hurts. I can taste salt and metal. It happened. For a long moment, no one moves. Then I gather the records, tapping the edges on the table to align them, because I need to do something with my hands that isn't breaking down. I pull 3 smaller envelopes from the back of the folder and set them in a row. One in front of Mom, one in front of Dad, one in front of Hannah. Their names are written on each in my neatest handwriting. "These are copies," I say. "So the next time you're tempted to tell people I made it up, maybe read your own copy first." "Jess, don't be dramatic," Hannah says, but her voice is thinner now. "I'm not being dramatic," I say. "I'm being documented." That gets a snort from Dad, like I'm being clever on purpose. But I'm not. I'm just tired. Bone deep, soul deep tired of carrying this alone. I push my chair back. It scrapes loudly against the tiles. Mom looks up, panic in her eyes. "Are you leaving?" she asks, as if this is any different from all the other times I've left this house with my stomach in knots. "Yeah," I say. "I didn't come here for a group hug. I came to give you a choice. You can either keep pretending none of this is real and lose me for good, or you can sit with the fact that you were wrong about him and maybe, possibly, try to do better. And if we don't," Hannah challenges, "then you can keep Liam." I say, "I'll build my own family somewhere else." The words surprise even me as I say them, but as soon as they're out, I know they're true. My family has already slowly been shifting over this past year. Coworkers who send me stupid memes when I'm having a bad day, shelter volunteers who remembered my birthday dar. Patel with her calm voice and her box of tissues. The friend who let me crash on her couch for 2 weeks when I had that panic attack after seeing Liam at the supermarket. These are the people who believe me without needing paperwork. Mom sobs harder. "Jess, please," she says. "Don't talk like that." I sling my bag over my shoulder and tuck the main folder under my arm. The copies stay on the table like little landmines. "I'm not slamming the door," I say quietly. "I'm just done standing on your side of it while you pretend the fire behind me isn't real." I walk down the hallway I grew up in, past the framed school photos and the crooked cross Dad insists on hanging above a light switch. My legs are shaky, and for a second I lean my forehead against the cool wall, listening to the muffled voices behind me. I can't make out the words, only the tones. Mom's pleading, Dad's gruff irritation, Hannah's high, angry pitch. For the first time, it doesn't make me want to turn around and fix it. It just makes me want to leave. Outside, the evening air hits me like a slap, cool and sharp and real. I stand on the front step for a minute, the porch light buzzing above my head, and breathe. In, out. My phone vibrates in my pocket. It's a text from an unknown number at first. Then I remember I changed Hannah's contact name to just her number after one particularly nasty message. "You happy now?" It says. "Mom's a mess." For once, I don't feel the automatic urge to apologize. My thumbs hover over the screen, then I type back. "I'm not happy, but I'm alive." I stare at it for a second, then add, "And you have the records now. What you do with the truth is on you." I hit send. 3 dots appear, then disappear. No reply. I walk to my car, the gravel crunching under my shoes, the folder pressed against my side like a shield. My hands are still shaking, but it's different now. Less fear, more adrenaline, more, I don't know, something solid. Something like the thing Dr. Patel keeps calling self-trust. Will my family ever fully believe me? I don't know. Maybe Mom will sit up late tonight, reading every line until her eyes blur, finally letting herself see her son-in-law as something other than the charming handyman who fixed her fence. Maybe Dad will shove his envelope into a drawer and never open it, because not knowing feels safer than admitting he didn't protect his kid. Maybe Hannah will rip hers up and tell herself that doctors can be fooled too. But I've finally done what I needed to do. I've taken the story out of my head and put it on the table in black and white. I've stopped begging to be believed and started stating facts. This happened. It's written down. I get in the car and start the engine. For a moment, I just sit there, hands on the wheel, staring at the glow of the house through the windscreen. Then I pull out onto the quiet suburban street and drive away, the folder on the passenger seat like a silent witness. Tomorrow, I'll take it back to my flat and slide it into the bottom drawer of my desk. Not because I need proof anymore, but because sometimes when the old doubts creep in at 3 in the morning, the ones that whisper, maybe it wasn't that bad, maybe you overreacted, I want to be able to pull those pages out and read the words written by people who saw my bruises and heard my shaking voice and wrote, calmly and clearly, "Abuse confirmed."